we are going to see how innovation, technology and power combined can do a better world in cities. So is there a woman perspective for smart cities? How can we deploy the genius of women to create better cities? That's one of the questions we're going to ask today. And I'm very happy to welcome our panelists. First, Valérie Pécresse. Thank you, Valérie. Valérie Pécresse is the president of one of the largest regions of Europe, Région Île-de-France, Paris. She was just elected last year. She's a former minister. Welcome. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Valérie Pécresse, and also now Anya Wieden-Gelpa, who is Chancellor of State from Geneva, the first woman elected at this position of Chancellor of State in Switzerland, in Geneva. Welcome, Anya. How are you? Omran Al-Sharaf, our next panelist from the Emirates, is the Senior Director of the Emirates Mars Mission. I'm very happy to see you. I learned when I came to Dubai yesterday that you're going to go to Mars soon. Welcome. Yoko Ishikawa, professor from Tokyo Hitotsubashi University. Welcome. Very nice to see you. Coming from a long way to talk about the future of smart cities.
Great.
And finally, Pascal Souris from France, who is a Senior Executive Vice President International Development of the firm Thales, who is already developing smart cities around the world, including in Mexico. Welcome. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
So it's a very fascinating session today because we are really witnessing a revolution, another one. As you may know, the power in the world is now changing. States are very important still, we know that, but power is changing, going to the cities. Mega cities are now more efficient in some ways than states. And so it's changing everything, and the mayor of the big cities of leading regions in the world are now very important, not only for the day-to-day life of their citizens, but also for big questions. So that's why it's very important to talk together about innovation and the role of women. And first of all, I would like to address to you, Valérie Pécresse. You just arrived at the head of one of the largest regions in Europe, the largest region in France. What is your vision, and how do you integrate the fact that there is this revolution of innovation and technology together? What will you do, and what do you want to do during your mandate to make the city and the region better using the innovation and the technology?
I agree with you completely, Ulysse Gosset. I think that it's much easier to implement innovation through experimentation and through territories. Because at the state level, it's always very difficult because you have to implement change, and it's better when you talk to people, when you convince them to change their ways, their habits, and how they work, what they do every day. So it's easier on a smaller level. So the Paris region is the seventh state of Europe by wealth. It's 1/3 of the French wealth, and it's 40% of French research. So of course we have a vision of a very innovative region, a smart region. How do I do this? I do this by first improving continuously our infrastructures. We need to have a real fiber network on the whole region. And that's my first goal, having fiber everywhere in the region so that we'll have the digital revolution. And through the digital revolution, we can have a lot of data, a lot of information that will circulate. So first improve networks, telecommunication networks, then improve transportation networks, because it's a big issue for great cities. They grow up, and the transportation is not following. So the transportation issue is has a great influence, especially as environment is concerned, because the great big cities, they tend to be very polluted, and very stressful. So if we want to achieve more productivity and social wellness, then we have to work on transportation and housing. And so first, improve infrastructures. Then, second, we have an enormous amount of data on people's daily life that we can put through open data and that we can use in order to improve the quality of our services, public services. And so, for example, if I take one example, the emergency services in hospitals. They are often fully booked, but maybe not. In fact, some services are fully booked, some are empty, and nobody knows in real time where there is space, where there's no space. And so they don't know where to go. But I have all the data as the head of the region. I can have all the data, and I can put all the data on the web, and so you have an accident, your son, your daughter is ill, you look, and you know where to go. What hospital is free, what hospital is empty. So it's very important to make all information online, so to improve the quality of services. And the third thing we have to do is to support the entrepreneurial dynamic. There is a dynamic for startups everywhere, especially in France. We call it French tech. And we have to be behind this French tech and make our SMEs grow faster. So that's the key role of the region.
Do you think the people of the Paris region are ready for that revolution? Because it is a revolution in terms of data, of personal data. And as a woman, do you think you can prepare that future world differently than if it would be a man at your seat?
First, everybody thinks he owns his data, and they don't want to share the data. And one of the big issues of smart cities is to make them share the data. For example, if I welcome tourists in Paris, they want to know everything. And they want to know if there is a transportation breakdown, if there is a traffic jam. They want to know everything about the transportation, they want to know everything about the museums, they want to know everything about hotels. I have to put everything online. And people are very scared about sharing their data. So we have to make them share their data. They have to be evaluated. They have to have performance indicators. We have to have a lot of sensors to know if things are working or not. That's a good resistance. And as a woman, is it different? I would love to say it's not different. And my first answer when you asked me the question was, no, it's not different to be a woman. But then I had second thoughts. Well, the first thing is it's important to be part of the new generation, to love innovation and to want to innovate. So that's a question of maybe generation. But being a woman makes things different because I think I look more on the consequences in daily lives of everything I'm doing. For example, I have agents. I have 9,000 people working for me, and they clean the schools. They clean the schools. And lots of them were sick. And we had a ratio of sick people that was very, very high. And I said, why are they sick? So men in my cabinet told me, you know, oh, they're sick. You have to make them work more and be more strict, more sanctioned. I said, but why are they sick? And then I realized that they were not equipped with the nice equipment, that they had buckets that were heavy, and so they had their backs that were hurting. And so the solution was to buy new equipments that have wheels, and you push them and you don't have to bend, and so you don't hurt your back. And I think there were 17 years of a man in power, and in 17 years nobody cared about what kind of equipment these 9,000 people should have to clean the schools. And being a woman, having a woman at the head of my human resources, the first thing we talked about with the unions was how can we have less people sick?
Excellent. So it's a fact that to have smart cities, you need connected employees and connected citizens and exchange data, and it's a revolution also in that way. We have with us somebody who has already some experience in dealing with a city. We have Anja Wiedengelpa, who is the Chancellor of State from Geneva. And you are the first woman at that job elected. What is your vision? How did you, I mean, did you know when you were elected that you were going to face this question of how to make Geneva a better city, a smart city? And how do you deal with it today? What does it change for you?
Well, in my experience, so I was, as you said, I was elected 6 years ago. I've been re-elected in 2013. In my experience, innovation, the keys of innovation doesn't lie in technology. It's about people. So we need passion, meaning, and values. So about passion, I think innovation, above all, is a state of mind, willing to improve things. And if you talk about public administrations, I mean, almost all countries faces some financial issues or difficulties at the moment. So it's really crucial for us to modernize public administration, to be able to deliver services that meet citizens' expectations. So meaning, if you dare, because you have to have the courage, if you dare to implicate citizens at all levels of the process, then innovation thrives. All levels of the process means finding policy issues, defining solutions for them, and implement them. And values. Sustainable innovation is only possible if you make the effort, and again, if you have the courage to build transparency and trust. It doesn't come naturally. And I would just illustrate that with 2 examples in Geneva. You might know Switzerland is the most direct democracy in the world. So we had more national ballots than all other countries that have direct democracy together. So it's a great deal. We vote 4 times a year at least. And so if you take average person, in their life they will vote 385 times. So it's really a big deal. In Geneva, in the region of Geneva, we have the chance to be a pioneer in e-voting. So I'm not talking about these voting machines, which maybe you've heard of in America. They had some issues about that. But really online voting. So you vote on your computer, on your iPad, on your iPhone, wherever you are. You vote from Dubai. No problem. You're on holiday, you're on a business trip, you're skiing in the mountains. You vote with your devices. And so we have that. We had the first ballot in Europe in 2003. Great system, really state of art in the world. So we are very proud of that, best engineers. But when I came 6 years ago, I mean, even if you have the best technology, best innovation, people won't trust you just because you're the authorities. You have to build that trust. And that's why we changed not the product, but we changed the way we dialogue with people. So we are going open source. So that's really a change of not only in public sector, I think also in private sector. It used to be safe and secure to close something up. To say, I put my system behind a firewall, I protect it, I say it's the best system in the world. What happens? I mean, there is no system in the world, not a plane, not energy, atom, that won't have a risk. I mean, there is always a risk. So the only thing you can do to face hackers, for example, is to reduce their will to hack you. You have to engage a discussion with them so they understand it's about democracy. It's our tool to have public decisions. So if you open up the doors, you have less risk that they will come into the window and they will break the window by coming in. So that's really essential and very concrete. We are going open source, which is a change, a fundamental change. But we also organize workshops with people from the academy, with hackers. So with the best hackers, we tell them, come and help us. I mean, if there is some problem in the system, I would rather like to know. And that's really a promising dialogue, which helps us all to be together. And the second example, even if you have the best tool, technology tool, even if people trust you, which is already a good thing. If people don't vote, well,
and can you tell us 4 times a year what is the rate of voting and between men and women? Do you know?
Yeah, there's not such a big difference between men and women, but there's a huge difference between young people and older ones. So young people under 30, they vote 15 to 20 points less than average. And the people who vote most, they are between 70 and 75 years. So that's not, I don't mean that older people, their voice is less worthy or interesting than younger ones. I'm not saying that. But it's just a pity if there's only our oldest clients who are deciding what we will do next. I mean, it's just a problem.
Are the people of Geneva ready to share their data? I mean, to let somebody know that they are, for example, taking the bus at each time or having the water meter controlled by somebody else? Are they ready for that or not?
I think it's always a balance. So we have in Geneva, we created a service where you have the same people are responsible for transparency and for protection of personal data, which are 2 different things, but they are the same, they are the 2 faces of the same reality. So they are helping if a citizen wants to have a report, and we have to be transparent, and if a service or someone, no, you can't have this one, they can use him as a moderator, as an advocate. And the same, if you're worried about your data, which can be health data or other data, you can have help from these same people. So I think, again, it's a dialogue. You have to be transparent to build trust. Whether it's about elections or votes, or only in the interaction between a state and between citizens, and you have to empower people. We have to empower our citizens, so that's what we tried, for example, with the younger voters. We created 4 years ago a contest where young people from 15 to 25, they're building a film, 90 seconds, to motivate other young people to vote. So we're giving them the word. It's not the authorities which tells them what to do, but they do it themselves. So I really think that politicians and even managers in private sector, we have to create a safe environment to allow and to enable our employees to have the courage to be creative and innovative. I think that's our share of it. Okay. We are responsible that they feel sufficiently safe that they can take a risk, because innovation is taking risks.
Thank you very much. Omar El-Sharaf, you are the Senior Director of the Emirates Smart Vision, and I don't know if everybody knows that there is a Mars mission project in Dubai. Can you tell us more about it? And somebody would ask, what is the relationship between smart cities, innovation, and Mars? Can you tell us?
Sure, yes. Yes, so the UAE is going to Mars. The UAE intends to launch its spacecraft, which is going to orbit Mars and study its atmosphere in 2020. The journey is going to take 7 months, and hopefully we'll reach there by early 2021. One of the main reasons for the mission is also to celebrate the UAE's 50th anniversary, which is on the 2nd of December 2021, with a big achievement. The government decided to go ahead with the Mars mission. And their other goals also basically to build the science and technology sector in the UAE. This is one of the main goals. So going to Mars is just a mean to a much bigger vision. Another thing is about the region. I mean, the region, there's more than 200 million youth. There's a lot of energy, a lot of potential. However, the region is going through a really tough time. And if this energy is not invested in the right place, it will be utilized in the wrong way. So the message that the government is trying to send here, the UAE government, to the region is that if the UAE is able to reach Mars in less than 50 years, then you can get your region out of, or your countries out of the situation that they are in currently and move them forward and progress. The same way centuries ago how this region was very active in generating knowledge, in giving back to humanity, the way that like some of the basic science discoveries that came out of this region contributed to the technologies and the science work that's happening currently nowadays. So this is just a small overview about the Emirates Mars mission. So how is this related to smart cities? That's a very good question. One thing I'd like to say, the smartest ever city ever built by humans is the International Space Station. You have a group of people living together. You can see even with the highest IQ maybe, population with the highest IQs. The only way to get there is with the rockets. It's the only city in the world, around the world, they can get to is basically through using a rocket. The technology used in the ISS, for example, smart farming systems, smart food. They even have ice cream up there, and I had one of those ice creams. Smart farming, smart sewage system. So the challenges that space offer us and give us really push us to our boundaries. It pushes us out of the comfort zone. You know, you have a project, you have a deadline, you have a budget. So it really makes you innovate. And a lot of those technologies could be utilized on Earth in different cities. For example, if we talk about the UAE, we have big challenges when it comes to water resources, to agriculture. It's a quite harsh environment that we live in here. And space offers you that harsh environment also. Extremely harsh environment, and in which something goes wrong, you lose lives. So that pushing you out of your comfort zone happens with these programs, you know, and a lot of technologies that have been already developed for space are currently being used for different applications around Earth to increase the quality of life. And when we talk about smart cities, it's not about having like a smart city, just doing things, I guess, using computers. It's more than that. It's about achieving high quality of life, the smartest way, doing that, the most efficient way, and being smart about it.
Okay, and in Dubai, are you already thinking about doing smart cities, approaching the 2020 with the exhibition?
Well, so yeah, the government's vision is basically, because one thing about a space that the government is very eager to build the science and technology sector in the UAE. Recently it announced its higher policy for science and technology and innovation. They announced the innovation strategy and so on, and they have different initiatives. So UAE's economy depends a lot on science and technology. The quality of life that we have here depends on technology. Most of those technologies are imported. So you need to have activities here. So the government wanted the fastest way to build the capacity in the UAE. So what's the best way to do it? To go into a program that has multi-disciplines, which is space. So you want to build a spacecraft or like a space mission, you need to have an electrical engineer, computer scientist, mechanical engineer, people who studied math, physics, chemistry, geology, and so on. So we are actually building capacity and capability in all those different disciplines at the same time, innovatively, in an innovative way, and also something that really inspires people. There's big national pride, innovatively, in an innovative way, and also something that really inspires people. There's big national pride behind it. People are inspired about space. And whenever we talk about future, if you think about it, even if you look at the movies and TV, it's about, I guess that's human nature, you know. Because of the uncertainties with space, it makes it very futuristic, you know, think out of the box, you know. And this is one thing that also the government looked into in triggering interest in STEM and also in things related to science and technology.
I don't know about your program, but how many women are working with you? Do you think women can give something more or different than men in innovation and science?
Well, in Mohammed Baraj Space Center, we are 100% Emiratis. We are more than 120 employees, and I am proud to say that more than 41% of the employees are women.
Wow. Bravo.
And the Emirates Mars mission, I have, because as we were talking earlier, Mars is difficult, Mars is challenging. So I have 8 deputies. Out of the 8 deputies, 3 are women. And all of them, they earned their position. They're not there because they're women, because that's because of their work. They earned it. And same thing with the other colleagues that I have in the Mohammed Baraj Space Center.
Thank you very much. Let's turn now to Yoko Ishikura from Japan. You seem to say that cities now have become a very important unit for competitiveness and sometimes innovation, sometimes more even than states. Can you tell us more
Sure.
about that?
Yes, coming back from the space to the planet and
Yeah.
down to the cities. I think we used to talk about the competitiveness of the country, and we still do. You know, and whenever we come up with the ranking of the countries in terms of the innovation, which country is the best in the world, and so forth. But I think it's the unit of analysis for innovation in particular is becoming much more of the cities. And it's partly because, you know, the massive and rapid urbanization is taking place. And I think today, half of the population of the world live in the cities. And it's going to be even more in 2050. And the like 60% or more of GDP is, you know, produced in the cities. So that's a big, big portion. And at the same time, I think the cities can work as an innovation hub, partly because for the importance of face-to-face contact. I used to be involved with this industrial clusters, and we talked about the clusters, and we talked about the country competitiveness about 2 decades ago or so. And at that point in time, we were talking about, because of this IT and technology, the distance doesn't make any difference. But it's not so. And particularly for innovation, when we're dealing with the uncertainties, we don't know what's going to happen. So we need to sort of prototype and experiment and things like that. And in order to do that, you need to be much closer together. The physical proximity makes a lot of difference. I mean, take a look at the Silicon Valley, take a look at the financial, you know, city capital of the world. I mean, they're close together. And you just kind of think that, you know, because of this online thing, because we can, you know, we can do Skype and all these things, it doesn't make any difference where you are, but it does. So that's part of it. And at the same time, as I think Valerie mentioned, cities are much easier to be managed. So when you want to, and the innovativeness of the cities really depends upon the institutions, as well as policies and regulations for the business environment, as well as hard connectivity, which means physical infrastructure, as well as soft connectivity, which is digital education and things like that, interaction, cultural interaction, and so forth. So all these things really, you know, lead the cities to be much more good hub for the innovation. And in fact, we do have the ranking of the cities coming from Japan, and that ranks the cities of the world according to different dimensions, like economy, R&D, cultural interaction, livability, you know, environment, sustainability, and so forth, and accessibility. And top 10 is London, New York, Paris, Tokyo, Singapore, Seoul, Hong Kong, Berlin, Amsterdam, and Vienna. So these are the innovative and the, you know, high-ranking cities. And you can almost identify which cities are good for different groups of people. For the artists, for the business people, for the visitors, for the residents, and so forth. So each city really ranks in a different way. And each city has a unique characteristics. So if you really want to, and we always talk about the self-branding, branding of the country, branding of the region, branding of the city, you have to figure out what's the uniqueness about your own city and put it into the global context, and figure out how you work the policies, regulations, and hard and soft connectivity work together to make it even more innovative. One thing which is somewhat related to innovation, but not necessarily women, is that I don't think women issues are ever included in the discussion of cities or innovation, as a matter of fact. I mean, innovation, yes, but not necessarily the characteristics of the ranking of the cities. But I think it's quite important because innovation comes from the different ideas. And as we talked about today, I mean, women may have a different perspectives. So it really does help to have women empowered in the cities to come up with the innovation.
Can you give us an example of where women can make a difference for the smart cities of the future?
Yeah, well, I think as Valerie said, you know, I think that the women tend to be much more sort of down to earth. They know how everyday life is done. And the innovation comes from the experience or the total system, which makes your life much easier or more convenient or less costly, rather than the technology.
One word about what you said about the cities being more and more important. 50% of the world population will be living in the cities. Is there going to be a competition between mega cities and states, and who will win?
I think that it's much more like a competition among mega cities rather than the city and the state. And I mean, you can have the competition or rivalry between the city and the state, but I think the cities are sort of going after the global context. So they are more talking about, attracting good people to the cities rather than the state. Because as I think Valerie mentioned, you have to convince so many different people if you want to change the regulation of the state or the national government. Yeah. So it's much easier to deal with it in the city. It's in the same way like a, conglomerate, the multi-business company and the division. Division is much easier to manage.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you very much. We are going to turn to Pascal Cerise, but I would like to remind you in the audience that you can ask questions. So just after Pascal, I will go to you, and please prepare your question if you can. Pascal Cerise, you are working for Thales, and it's very important to see you here because smart city, it's not a vision for the future, it's already existing. And one example is Mexico City. Can you tell us what you are doing there and how you see the evolution? Is it going fast?
Yes, the evolution is going very fast. In fact, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to talk about this example of Mexico City. It's the third largest megacity in the world with 22 million inhabitants spread over a huge territory, 5,000 square kilometers. And as everyone knows, there were criminality issues reaching a very severe level. So what we've deployed is a very comprehensive solution that involves very many sensors, 22,000 cameras on streets or in the metro are connected to 5 local command and control centers that are all monitored by one main citywide center. The interesting thing is that this system brings alarms directly to police, to fire crews, to emergency services whenever something unusual happens. What the system has been able to achieve was to really very significantly reduce crime rate that has come down by more than 30%. So that's an very impressive number, and also cut response times by a factor of 4. So if you imagine there is an accident somewhere, if you divide the response time by 4, you're going to save lives and make things really easier. But what I'd like to say about this is that it's not only about bringing technologies. It's about working closely with your customer, with the city and the various stakeholders to understand the way they operate and to discuss with them how to use huge amounts of data and to interconnect systems to be able to optimize a different function based on information available in a different system. So it's very important when you have a look at how to manage very large cities or even smaller cities to just not think of managing the city in silos, system per system.
That's a very important point, because how to deal with all this data is probably the most sensitive question. How do you do it?
Well, in fact, we work a lot in what we call big data analytics, to be able to create smart, meaning usable data coming from huge amounts of data. So you need to find what's really relevant. So that's an area that Thales focuses on a lot. Another area we focus on, and which is very important for cities, is simulation of human behaviors. When you have crowds, how are these crowds going to behave? How can you manage the flows of people to optimize everything, optimize security, but also optimize the way people are going to walk in train stations, etc. And another point I want to mention, and Thales is an expert in that area, is cybersecurity. Yes. It's very, very important to work in anticipation, to protect your system, to make them more robust to potential attacks, then have solutions to monitor what's going on and detect attacks very quickly. And of course, if there has been an attack, which is unavoidable, to be able to react very quickly. So I've mentioned this topic of security, but another domain in which we also operate is the concept of smart mobility. We are an expert in ground transportation, signaling systems for train control, metros or main lines, ticketing systems, revenue collection systems, or road tolling. And it's very interesting to see what you can implement in terms of multi-agency command and control systems that would cover all your transportation means and to optimize the services you can bring to passengers. That you can really optimize this passenger experience.
Can you tell us, are there any cities in this area of the world, in the Middle East, where you are working with or planning to work with?
Yes,
and why did you, why Mexico City was one of the first cities to get to the smart city business?
Well, in fact, we are working.
Thales
is established in 56 countries of the world with teams in these 56 countries. In fact, we have customers in more than 120 countries in the world, and specifically in this region, Thales has very huge teams and activities. So you might have the example, in fact, that you could see Thales in very many areas, and this is absolutely true. If you take the example of Dubai City, if you arrive by plane, you will come across Thales because the air traffic control system will use Thales solutions. And then Thales is also securing the airport. And if you want to, for example, book transport through a mobile app, most likely Thales is securing this app. And if you want to either take your car or use the metro in the city, then Thales is involved in park and ride here in Dubai, as well as in this metro, Dubai Metro network. And I would like to say that the Dubai Metro is the longest driverless metro in the world. So okay. Thales has built that.
Thank you.
In fact, I think what Thales brings really is innovation, but innovation based on a very in-depth understanding of what our customers need and the way they operate, and we work in real partnership closely with them to bring those solutions.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask the floor, the assembly. Is there any question here to our panel? Yes, I see one hand over there. Please introduce yourself before. Okay. Can you have a microphone for the lady here? Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Yolanta Bak. I run a strategy and innovation consultancy, so the subject is very dear to my heart. I have a question to Ms. Pécresse. You mentioned continuous improvement a lot, what we call in innovation, lifeblood innovation. My question is about breakthrough innovation, disruptive innovation, the equivalent of the Mars trip from the Emirates. Are we still able in Europe to be more disruptive and not just continuously improving things?
Valérie?
We are disruptive in certain ways. For example, Pascal Souris talked about driverless transportation. This is disruptive, and this is going to be a big disruption in the next 10, 20 years. when the buses will be without drivers, and not only the trains. What's going to happen? They can run all the night through, which is not possible at the moment because it's very expensive to pay people working at night. So it will mean more security. It will mean for children less car accident or motor accident, because they will be able to take the bus at night. It means a better security for women. It would mean cheaper transportation for firms. This is disruptive change. If we talk about energy, we have disruptive change in energy at the moment. We change the whole view of how we're going to be independent. And when you talk about renewable energy, in France we have only 5% of renewable energy at the moment. In 10 years, 20 years, how much will I have? 25, 30%? This is continuous and disruptive.
My question was more about non-technological disruptive innovation, soft innovation, people's innovation, modes of living, and I think there is a woman call in that domain.
Yeah, that's true too. We have also to think different in the way we live. If we talk about transport, I would like to gather all the firms, the big firms in the Paris region, talk about them, about the hour where we work. Because in some of the northern countries of Europe, to improve the welfare, the wellness of employees, some firms have decided to start later during the day or to finish earlier, 1 day a week. And if 10% of firms change their way of working, then you have no more traffic jam in the region. 10%. 1 day, 1 week. So of course, there are also disruptive changes in the way we live, in the way we work. And that's also a thing we're working on.
Do you have in Geneva somebody in charge of innovation technology or not yet? Valérie, do you have somebody in your city, in your region, who is in charge of technology? Is there a direction of innovation or not yet?
No, they're supposed to be all working
Okay. And
in
what
their
about
field.
Geneva?
In their field.
We are working on that. We are a couple of people trying also to get innovation on the national political agenda.
So what are doing the big cities to be ready for smart cities? Do they have somebody who is really working only on that, or not yet? They are not ready for that.
I don't think there isn't any one person or one department working on that. But getting back to the disruptive innovation,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the innovation which disrupts the industry today is on platform design and business models rather than technological. And I mean, I'm not just ignoring the technological innovation at all, but I mean like Airbnb and all these things. So we have a lot of spare spaces in the cities, and we have a lot of mobility issues. So mobility and demand and all these things can be done.
Thank you. Any other questions among you all? Yes, over there. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sajida Ashraf, and I work with an education advisory. So my question to you is, when we talk about smart cities and the future, we need smart people to be part of that. Now, in all of your discussions, as interesting as it's really focused on technology. So my question is, what, if any, thought have you given about the need to incorporate education, and not just education, but smart education, into the smart city planning? I have a particular interest in this because we are trying to encourage people to think about planning for smart education. So you're looking at skills, human development, and workforce-aligned technical as well as soft skill development. So the question is, what's the plan to incorporate the development of smart people into your smart cities? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And this morning, Christine Lagarde was saying that the massive changes which are occurring in technology needs education, education,
Exactly.
education.
Exactly.
But Anya first, and Omran, please, go ahead.
Well, that was my first sentence, that the key of innovation is not in technology. So not everyone was talking about technology. I'm convinced that technology is one part, but you can be very innovative in a very traditional sector. You can in grocery store, you can have a great innovation in delivery or whatever. Uber and Airbnb, there are other examples. These are really old businesses, and you can be very innovative. As Christine Lagarde told us as well, I mean, education is really the key. What I'm doing in Geneva on our regional, not city, but regional level, is about political rights. My main focus are children, and not children 17 just before they vote, but the main focus is 11, 10 to 15. That's the age when you can really get to them, where you can really engage them, explain to them. For me, it's a kind of, we need to reconnect authorities, state or political rights with the children. We have to give them our passion for that, because if children don't get that passion, that what we are doing collectively, whether it's voting, whether it's to be together in a business or something, it's very important they learn that at a really early stage, and really 10 to 15, it's a great age for me. So we have really concrete programs where we have preparation in class, then they coming to the parliament, they are playing roles in the parliament, very, very concrete, together with schools, of course.
Omran, maybe a word on that question?
Yeah, sure. Actually, a good question. One thing a lot of people think, especially when we talk about the Emirates Mars mission, is that it's all about technology, innovation technology. No, it's beyond that. As I said, going to Mars is just a mean. We talk about building a sector. By saying that, okay, to build a sector, the government looked into space, to build the disciplines, to build the capacity, the capability. That by itself is innovation. More than that also, within the mission, we have a full team that's dedicated for education and outreach. A team, quite a small team, I have to say, and with very tough requirements of basically preparing and aspiring a future of Emirati, sort of next generation of Emirati scientists and engineers in less than 6 years. You know, that's quite difficult. You know, there's a lot of work needs to be done. However, they had to innovate in their approach. They started the Teachers Ambassador program. They started the different workshops programs that they have. A team of 6 people was able to reach more than 9,000 students in less than 6 months, because they had to innovate in their processes. They had to, and one big part of it here in which they included, for example, the teachers within the team. So they basically include the curriculum and subjects in their education, in their classes that is related to Mars and STEM.
A word, Pascal, about that?
Yes.
And in Mexico City, for example, how do you make sure that the people who are, you know, it's a huge cities, you said 22 million, right?
22 million.
A lot of them are not at the level of education that would be required to go to. So how do you do with that? How do you deal with it?
So, well, the first point I wanted to make is that nobody should oppose technology and non-technology related elements. I think what's needed is that technology is going to enable a number of solutions and new usages. So what's very important is to understand how to develop new services that really make sense for people. And an element which is extremely important when you look at innovation and creativity is the notion of diversity. The best results you get is when you work with teams that combine people with a complementary background, different origins, different roles in their jobs or in their lives. And this is also where gender diversity can play a role, because you can come with people that will bring their own experience complementing the others. So I think in the end, what matters is to combine diverse teams and certainly not oppose people and technology. They go together. Now, concerning Mexico City, of course, we have lots of users, and I think the solution we have deployed actually, and that's a point I would like to make, and maybe Valérie or even Anya could think about it. When you talk about security system or police, you might think, well, people are going to be afraid, police, etc. In fact, the system we have deployed together with the city of Mexico has brought people closer to their police. Actually, they loved the system because it was bringing them more security, a better feeling in their neighborhood. And sometimes a very interesting example is that we wanted to change because the city wanted to achieve that, we wanted to change the location of cameras, and people wanted to stick to their cameras because they thought, okay, our camera is bringing us closer to this notion of security we love.
But you know also that there are people who are afraid of the data, the private data being taken care by security.
It's a question of balance.
You see the conflict in America between Apple and the FBI.
But it's a question of balance between security and protecting your personal life.
Okay, I may have one last question from the room, and then we will conclude. Just a question, and you will conclude after. Okay, please, the very last question. Un micro, s'il vous plaît. No microphone here. No. So Valérie, you wanted to say something in the meantime? Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to talk about education because the Paris region spends 1 billion a year in education and training. So I don't want people here to believe that I talk only about transportation when I talk about smart cities. So we spend 1 billion euro in education. We do high schools, we do universities, and we do professional training.
$1 billion or $1 billion euros?
1 billion.
For how many years?
A year.
A year.
1 billion.
So
each
$1
year.
billion a year
we
for
have
education.
a 5 billion euro budget.
Okay.
We have plus 9 billion in transportation. So 9 billion in transportation, 5 billion for the rest. And in the 5 billion, you have 1 billion euro a year in education. So it's not a subject that I underestimate. And my main concern, might surprise you, is about unequal access to education in France, in Paris. Because we have the best schools of France, which means world top ranking schools, and we have also the worst. And so the question, and this might surprise you as well, the question here is not technology.
Okay, very quickly.
The question here is hiring good teachers.
Very quickly the question, and then we have to conclude. Yes.
At the moment.
Good afternoon. My name is Marianne Legnaud. I'm working for EDF, a French and international utility. My question is for Dr. Ishikura. You mentioned the top 10 of smart cities. What is your view on their field of cooperation? What can they do together that bring more value to the concept and reality of smart cities?
You mean the cooperation among the cities, or
yes,
cooperation
among the cities?
Okay, I think there are quite a few things, such as the best practices. They can learn from the best practices, and because we rank them according to several dimensions, you can tell which city is good for this or that. And I think the ranking, that the purpose and the objective of ranking is to find out where you can make an improvement, rather than trying to rank it, this is better than that kind of thing. So I think there are lots of things that you can share, the best practices. We can learn a lot from London, for example. I mean, Tokyo is, Olympics. Tokyo has Olympics in 2020, and we can learn lots and lots of things from the experience of London, for example, in terms of designing the architecture and infrastructure. So I think there is a lot of opportunities for cooperation. And this is the start, just to have the ranking or the description of the profiles of different cities is a starting point.
Well, yes, it's a good conclusion. So it's only a beginning. So thank you very much. Good luck for your Mars experience. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Valérie. Thank you, Anya. Thank you, Amran, Yoko, and Pascal.